All right, welcome back to another Cadillac Funeral Parlor Car episode. Got to remember where I left off. I know I was testing the cap, so I was, while I'm building this engine back up, I'm trying to find all the reasons why it was running hot to begin with, before it blew the head gaskets twice. I did a lot of research on this thing, on this motor, particularly when it's in the Fleetwood and the Brougham. Yeah, these things ran hot. It's no joke. I ordered a temperature gauge because it has a switch for the overheat light, and it's what they call the metal temperature switch, and it triggers at like 320 Fahrenheit when the light comes on. Yeah, that's pretty toasty, but that's where it's okay to run it up to, I guess. So I got this gauge here originally. This gauge goes right after 210, but I think this motor actually runs like around that temp when you're on it. It might even go up to 220, 230, and this gauge here is gonna make it look like it's burning up. So I had to order another gauge. I want a little more accuracy. I don't want my friend to freak out when he's in the red. So the other gauge I ordered doesn't have a little red section. Although I should put that one, maybe it'll get him to pull over. But anyway, it does run hot. I had to get another thermostat. The thermostat I pulled out, I don't trust it. It was cooked. But it's 195 Fahrenheit. The one I happen to get is a Stant. It's a name brand, but it's 180 Fahrenheit. It's too low. I would like to put it in there, but there's an issue with that. The way the fuel mapping and ignition mapping and emissions mapping is, the system has to go into a closed loop where it monitors the exhaust and everything else. And that closed loop doesn't get turned on until it gets to the closed loop temperature. And I think it's above 180 F. I can't find that number. So I don't want to put a lower thermostat in there and then the engine never gets hot enough for it to run efficiently, which means all the emission stuff will not turn on properly and it will not pass an emissions test. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with the by the book 195 F thermostat and see how that goes. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I would like to run that engine a little cooler. But that's how it was designed, and I got to pass emissions with it, so we're gonna keep it super stock. Today I am gonna turn on the stereo, crack open a beer, and then get wrenching. Today I'm gonna put the brackets on, get the alternator on, get the smog pump on, and get the air conditioning pump on, sort of build up the front of it. I don't have much time on it. I don't have that much time today, just a little bit. I gotta go pick up my kid from football practice, and then usually once I get back, I'm kind of done with my day at that point. I don't want to wrench late. There's no reason to be wrenching late. It's a hobby. It'll be there tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after that. Although I am trying to get this thing ready for Halloween, the month of Halloween here in the States. And I know my buddy likes to cruise this thing on Halloween and during that time, which I get it. But anyway, I'm gonna get wrenching, get that set up. I gotta connect the fuel line. I don't have the thermostat, so I don't think I can hook up the fuel line, because I think the thermostat housing is in the way. I won't be able to put the thermostat housing on if I do put the fuel line. It's gonna be really weird. I may try it. Maybe I can. If I can do it, I'll hook up the fuel line now. And so anyway, this is where the new gauge is gonna go. This was for the temp switch. This one is the temp gauge sensor for the computer. That's where the computer adjusts timing and everything else according to engine temperature, or coolant temperature, I should say. So yeah, I think the goal for right now is just get all the belts on and all the devices, figure out where half these brackets go. Might have to look at reference pictures. That's why I take them. I need to put the smog injector pipes on this side. That's this guy right here. So it's underneath. Get this in there. And yeah, get busy here, get wrenching. All right, got that fuel line on, and I got enough space for the coolant stuff. Now I got to get this smog pipe on here. It's actually, I already bent this thing into shape, so it'll thread right on. Now there's a support bracket that goes in there, a little short guy, and I know I gotta fight it to get it on. Kind of goes like that, so now I know it'll clear the pipe. So okay, I gotta get that tightened up. All right, back to it. So I finished a lot more than when I left off. I worked a little later, but the camera died, and I was so into the music that I had planned and into actually enjoying the wrenching, I didn't bother powering up, going to try to fix this camera. This thing's been coming and going all the time. Anyway, I got not a whole lot left. I may actually be able to fire this up today or this evening. I got about an hour and a half before I got to go get Junior, maybe 2 hours before I got to go get Junior at football. Anyway, I got a lot of stuff. I got the spark plugs hooked up. I got the distributor hooked up. I got to tighten the ground over there before I forget. Got the alternator on. Got it connected. This here is for the cruise control that this thing doesn't have. Started hooking up this side on the electrical. I got wires over there I need to hook up. I got to put the air pump, a diverter valve over there. That's got to be put into place. So it's pretty much, vacuum lines. I want to get the top of the manifold all hooked up. So it's all vacuum lines, and once the vacuum lines and all the sensors and everything's connected, And the air pump, the smog pump hoses are all put into place and all that. Gonna put the braces on, maybe not. The braces that kind of hold the fenders and the whole car together, because I need to troubleshoot and those kind of get in the way, so I may not add those quite yet. I know there's going to be troubleshooting. This tour isn't going to be perfect right off the bat. But anyway, once I get the vacuum lines, all the sensors hooked up, I need to hook up the coolant lines. So I still got the top radiator hose. I did put in the thermostat housing. I got the correct thermostat, and I have a new mechanical gauge. I was gonna put an electrical gauge in there for the coolant, but it was the wrong range on the dial, and I didn't have the adapter. The adapter is really weird. It's weird threads. I just bought a whole nother gauge. It's a mechanical gauge. It's like that. It's got a mechanical probe. It comes with all the right fittings. Got a new oil filter. That oil filter's got to go in. I got to jack that up. Drain the oil before I start it. It's contaminated with water. Got all the belts tightened. This is that adapter for the temp sensor, so I got to seal that in. This guy's for the light, the original overheat light, and then over here is that's the temperature sensor for the ECU. Monitors coolant. That kind of works the closed loop emission system. And I got to hook up this vacuum control valve for emissions. All the hoses needed to be hooked up. It's not hard. I've done it many times. I just got to follow the drawing, which is here. Like, yay. I'm not going to film the TDS stuff. I'm going to turn on my stereo and kind of enjoy it. All right. Got it mostly connected. I got all the vacuum lines, wires, coolant hoses. So I'm gonna double check the firing order, make sure I put the plug wires all where they need to go. After that's confirmed, I gotta drain the oil, remove the filters, pretty much gotta change the oil before I crank it and fire it. But it's coming together. I got to get the jacks in here. I use 2 jacks to jack it up. This thing's heavy. I got to get the 61 out of here, make some room. I also found out that this thing has only a 2-core radiator. So the camera ain't gonna show nothing, maybe. But there's only 2 cores in there, which a lot of the internet, the guys are talking 7-blade 4-core radiator if you're in the really hot weather like Texas. Well, it's actually was 96 today. I'm gonna call that hot weather. So that may be part of the problem too. This radiator is a little subpar for this, especially this heavy car. So that's something to note. I'm glad I found that out. I looked, I assumed it was a 4-core. It's not, it's only a 2. But it does have the 7-blade fan on it, which is good. So, you know, this thing may need an upgrade on the radiator, but that's good to know. I know if I start pushing it like real hard and starts getting warm on me, now I think I know why. Anyway, so I'm gonna get just noticed one more vacuum hose for the brake booster. I had to figure out that one really quick when it didn't run good. So it's over there yonder. over there yonder. Let's hook it up before I forget. There, much better. It's one less big vacuum leak. Anyway, I want to get this thing jacked up and drain the oil, refill it. I gotta close the pepcock on the radiator so I can pour some coolant back in it, and fire it up within the hour, I think, maybe. That oil change is gonna take me a bit to crawl under this big ass thing. Anyway, let me move these things. Oh, I gotta put the temp gauge on. Not gonna fill the coolant without that, am I? Well, I guess after I check the plug wires, let me install this. I gotta figure out how to run it through the firewall. I'll probably follow some other grommet. There's a boss there for another grommet. I might punch it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. I'll find it. All right, spark plugs are verified. The firing order is verified. The gauge is installed. Got a temporary run. I gotta ask my buddy where he wants the gauge mounted. For right now, it's just rigged right here. I think I might drill a hole right here if he approves. So it'll go down there. You know, I don't know what I don't know what he wants to do. I don't see any other place really where it would be convenient. But anyway, a couple more things. Change the oil, put the coolant in. All right, I got it jacked up. Yes, safety first. There's a stand under it. All right, I'm not gonna film the dirty oil change. Just gonna get under there and do it. All right, the oil is drained. I'm gonna pour some new stuff in. Gonna pour the new stuff in. I happen to have a thing of Castrol. Whoa, that's empty. I got this thing of Castrol. Regular convention oil. This is the stuff I run in the 61. It'll get us by. It's gonna get drained anyway after I get this thing past emissions and everything. It's gonna need one more oil change. This oil's just gonna flush out the motor. I buy the Castrol GTX 1040. It's some of the cheaper oil. Cars I own burn it. So anyway, I'm not gonna film the filling because, you know, if I film it, I'm gonna spill it. Actually, you know what? I'll show you the spill. Maybe I'll get it right. Well, there you have it. I didn't spill it. Let's find a dipstick. Where did I put the dipstick? Let's put that in there. Put this guy back on. All right, I gotta close the pepcock on the radiator. Still got 5 minutes. And close that bottom of the radiator and pour some of the old antifreeze back in, what's left of it. All right, Coolant is filled. Dump the rest of the old stuff in, plus some water. Gotta go collect the youngins. One's in football, the other one's at a friend's. So after I get back, it's gonna be fire in the hole.
Quite a lot of it too.
Yeah, point at the motor.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That.
What do we got going on? Oh, it's blowing stuff. Well, that's no good. That's steam that's coming out, I think.
Sure it's not smoke?
I mean, it's oil and steam and everything else. Anyway, sometime later, maybe an hour later. So, yeah, initially it looked like it was bad, but it might not be. I let it idle for a very long time, and I think the steam that was coming out of the exhaust, it's possible that a lot of the passages in the exhaust pipe or the cat was full of water. I pulled the plug. You know, there was no water in there. It was holding pressure in the radiator. The stuff that my kid saw splashing out of the thing, I didn't have the cap on all the way. You know, I think it was just air bubbles because the system wasn't fully filled. I just filled it, didn't run it. The cap was on halfway for that purpose, so it could burp, and I think it was maybe just burping, spewing out stuff. But after I let it idle for about 30 minutes, it smoked a hell of a lot less. I can tell the smog pump stuff's going into a closed loop. The cold idle and the cold start is not going into closed loop. Maybe the temperature sensor's fried for the computer. There is no check engine light. The light does work, but it's not on. I drove it, and around the block in the slow neighborhood, it runs fine. Temp goes up, comes down when you're off of it, but on the highway, the temp goes up. I have a feeling this radiator may be partially plugged, or there's so much blow-by in the engine that it's causing it to heat up. I did get it up a little tad. I got it up to about 235 on the gauge. That mechanical gauge is working. So it's about 205-ish, 203. It's got a 195 thermostat. The gauge is pretty accurate. Like I said, I got up past 230, but as soon as I started turning around and coming back into the neighborhood, coming down the hill, the temp dropped right away. So that may be the start of the problem, why this thing was getting overheated and blown up, because it definitely gets hot quick under load. But you know, you saw what I did to the cylinders, dingleberried them. That ridge on that cylinder is pretty bad. This engine's worn out for sure. This may be a city only, no highway vehicle from here on out. Maybe put a big ass radiator on it. It's definitely got the 2-core. Guys are recommending 4-core, but it drives good. I had to bypass the high idle to get the idle to come down, but it actually drove real nice. But so not gonna write it off yet. Yeah, not gonna write it off yet. It doesn't have the visual smoke like it did, or the steam. It's that's just the smog stuff not working. It's can't work the gas, and I'm gonna give it a little more fuel. Yeah, it's got something going on with the emissions. It's not controlling the feedback carburetor. I got to start running the checks. Yeah, I can't hold a gas. I can't get in there. But anyway, there's no visible smoke or the steam, and like before, it was like a white cloud, like you couldn't see in here, mixed with blue, mixed with oil. No check engine light. Anyway, there you have it. I think that's gonna be it for the day. It is 10:40. Not gonna write it off yet. This saga will continue. It'll continue. I'll try firing up tomorrow when it's cold. Maybe it does have a crack in the block, you know, and it opens up at a certain temperature and then it seals again. But I could see how this thing got overheated with this plug radiator or the blow-by or something. You know, within about a half a mile, almost a mile up a hill, that temp climbed quick. So anyway, at least I can move it in and out of the shop now. It's not jamming up my operation here. All right, I will see you on another day. I may cut this and call it an episode, and if I do, thanks for watching, and until next time.